Username here, and this video is going to be a breakdown of a trade I took on Friday. The trade was on Tesla, and I did post it in the Bueller Buys Discord post gains channel, but I kind of glossed over the most important parts. The setup and the entry were really important. This was a high probability trade and incredibly easy trade because of the fact. And if I could limit myself to 2 or 3 of these high probability trades a week, I wouldn't have to try to trade 5 times a day to catch one of these. I need to learn that. So it's a lesson that's been hard for me to learn, but I do need to learn that more trades isn't always better. If I could do 3 of these trades a week instead of 20 of my normal trades, I would absolutely be better off. So I'm going to lay the groundwork here, kind of walk through the information and the setup that I missed here, and hopefully you learn from this. So let's get going. So it was on Tesla. It was a breakdown of pre-market high, a BB level, and a lower trend line. The lower trend line was the last couple of days. Tesla had made a strong move up, and it was getting ready to break down on this lower trend line. I took 82% net on this, and the setup up there, I was getting confirmation from VIX, NQ, and ES. They were all confirming this breakdown. And Tesla had also previously bounced off a pre-market high, and it created a bit of a lopsided head and shoulders pattern. So let me show you that now. So here's the head and shoulders pattern. So the previous high of day had peaked. Here's our shoulder. We retested high a day, and we bounced off of pre-market high, and then came back up, and we were dropping from that. So we were losing the level. We were losing 9 EMA, and we were about breaking this 832 level, and I was like, man, this is gonna turn into a head and shoulders. And I don't have it on here, but VWAP was also crossed. So we were 9 EMA cross VWAP. We were below every indicator on the 5-minute chart. Plus, we were hitting all these ranges. And then let me go over and show you what I meant when I said that VIX, NQ, and ES were all confirming. So this is my day trade setup. Down below, so I have a chart up here. So this is Tesla. Down below, this is a 1 minute. Below I have a 5-minute and a 10-minute, and then I have always VIX, NQ, and ES. And as I was looking at these breakdowns of this level, this head and shoulders pattern, I was also looking at VIX breaking up out of a wedge, and both NQ and ES breaking down from their previous support into new low of days. So there was a lot of confirmation here. In addition to my 9 EMA and my VWAP, if you look here at the next candle, which shows my breakdown and my entry, but right on that candle, we were crossing and breaking down from there. So it was, everything was absolutely telling us that this was the move. But what I wanted to do was I wanted to hold, you see in the 1 minute I got across too, but I wanted to hold this 830 level because we had rejected it hard at the start. We'd been over it, then we straddled it, and then that straddle ended up being the new high a day, and then we bounced again here. So I didn't want to get another bounce. So I didn't want to wick it. I didn't want to do anything. I wanted to hold below it because by then my trend line would be there. I'd have a better look at where VIX and NQ and ES were. And so my next candle held below 830. So at the close of that, when I confirmed the hold of 830, I entered. And you can see here, I was not down. Maybe a few pennies, but basically I went through this whole trade up. That's what a high probability trade feels like, and it feels so good, let me tell you. Again, this was the easiest trade. Once I was in, I was simply managing my exit. So my first exit, usually when I get 5 contracts, I'll close 3 out at my next level. But this was kind of a weird area because I had a lot of levels all in place. I wanted to hold the 830 level, so I scaled my first one in between levels at 10% just to get some. Usually I'll close 3 of them out, get some green, let 2 kind of do whatever, but I had a lot of conviction that this was going to run. So I just took 10% off on my first one, and then I was going to run levels on the rest and hold a runner. So I took the second one out at my next level per the plan, which just happened to be the next candle. And then we, Got a lot of volume on this next one. We had growing volume, got a decent amount of buyer volume, but almost no movement. So that, that's nothing. That has not telling me anything about this trade other than it's still a good trade. Now we had lower volume, but more movement, had a top wick, bounced off that top level in 9 EMA. Still telling me the trade's good. Not worried at all here. Now we got almost no volume on a very, very small candle. We're just still riding the 9 EMA in that level. So right here is where I should have, but didn't think about an 80% entry. I should have added 5 contracts. Usually I do. A lot of times I will actually add contracts. When I get confirmation on a trade, I'll double my contracts. Don't know why I didn't here. I wasn't even thinking about it, and like I say, this was the easiest trade, so it's not like I had my mind on anything else. I'm not sure why I didn't. And then we do make our drop, and we have decent volume, not a lot, but decent volume, but we make a lot of distance up, which tells us it didn't take very much to exhaust those buyers, get the retest. Really, these were probably some people who shorted the stock, getting some back. But right about here, halfway through this candle, I had to step away from my desk for a couple of minutes. I knew it was going to be a few minutes. So instead of manually managing my stop loss, which would have been somewhere up at the top of this chop zone, would have been somewhere in this 832 range, depending on price action, maybe a close over 830, don't know. But I was manually managing it. So instead, what I did was I still had a ton of conviction in this move. Again, I should have added some. So I set my last 3 contracts at break even, and I had to step away. So if you look at the next 4 minutes, this is what happened when I stepped away. Came down, blew through that level. I actually removed my TPs. I didn't mention that. I removed my targets here when I set the break even because I really thought it was going to run, and it did. And so I had no indication of anything. As soon as I got back, which I got back right about here, I set my TP to hit that level again, and it hit the level and went down the next level, and it rejected immediately off of that. But this is my measured move. My measured move for that head and shoulders was here. I just was playing my levels. So we've already hit our measured move on our head and shoulders. We're bouncing off of this, so I'm paying a little bit of attention. So if we look at my 5-minute chart, I TP'd, and this is kind of what this 5-minute candle, or this 5-minute, this retrace on this was going to give us a look. So this candle here, now we've closed above that next level. So we blew down to this, bounced off that level, closed here. I do have rising volume, but it's not looking good, right? And I don't want to set it at break even and let it run. And this is an important point. So there's 2 ways to handle this. You can either set it at break even and let your runners run, or because this is Friday 0 DTE, I'm almost lunchtime, my theta is going to burn if I just let it run. So I was going to manage this to close it out, to maximize my profits and close out the last one manually. So this was definitely a concerning 5-minute candle. So I'm watching this, but it is, just going back to the 9. I'm wicking above it, another wick above the 9. So I'm kind of thinking, this is going to go. Now I got a really small candle. I've got declining volume. It kind of starting to look like an inverse head and shoulders pattern, but also kind of looking like just a retrace. We get a drop. Now we really look like an inverse head and shoulders. So I'm ready to pull the trigger now. I'm ready to get out of this anytime. We do drop, and my mistake was when we dropped this, I felt more comfortable, set my TP down for my next level. And if you look at this, there's a high volume again. We're back to this kind of volume. This is telling me we're back in the right move. I set my TP. The next candle kind of shakes me out of it. Really high volume. We haven't had this volume since we set the last high a day. Really high buyer volume, wick down below, pushed up, closed strong, and then if you look at the 5-minute candle that just closed, we closed above the last 2 levels, just like this candle, we closed above the last 2 levels we went through. This one actually went through 3 levels. We started out here 1, 2, 3, and we closed above 2 of them. So, you know, I could start to feel the exhaustion in the buyers right here. So I said, if we get another green, I'm going. And if you look at what VIX was doing, VIX had just closed here, and now it was in this range. As we were moving down, I was getting some green. We had just this candle, this last green candle, was the wick that closed VIX down. So that's where we were on these. So indecision. This one still looked like it was, you know, going my way, but that big wick on top was the wick on this return. So, you know, it was telling me, hey man, this might be about over, because a lot of volume. And so I said, you know what, next green when I'm out. And it was the beginning of this drop. You know, it was the first minute of the next candle, which ended up being, you know, the best place to exit. I mean, obviously the very best place would have been on here, but it wasn't bad here. So got out there. Prices never got there again, so it was the right way to manage that trade. But so that's the trade. Hopefully you learned. I learned a ton just by reviewing this and going through everything and re-looking at it when I did my journal. But then I realized I kind of shortchanged you on the most important part about the setup. So I thought I'd go back in and fill in the blanks. If you have any questions, hit me up in Discord or DM me. And otherwise, I will see you next time.